Hi, everybody. It is Wadeh Wednesday, where I come on. My name is Tiffany Tota. I'm a marriage and family therapist. For those of you that are new to this platform, Community for International Arab is a space for people from the Middle East to talk about, or those of us in the United States or in Europe or wherever you are in the world. But if you have a Middle Eastern background, this is where we come together to discuss emotional health and wellness within our cultural context. So we always give folks a few minutes to hop on. I'm here to answer any questions on emotional health and wellness. Hi, Mira.
Hi,
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you?
Yeah, I can. Keep halek. Everything's good.
Everything's great. Thank you.
I love it. All right. So for those of you that are new to this platform, I wanted to introduce Mira, my assistant. Mira, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself and some of the things you do for the community and then where you are from?
Of course. So I'm Mira. I'm Tiffany's assistant. I'm very grateful to be a part of this community. I help with the editing. I help delete negative comments, as Tiffany always says. What doesn't apply, let it fly, and don't write a negative comment because we're gonna remove it. And I'm joining you from Egypt.
I love that. Yes. And Mira is definitely the backbone to everything I do here. And Mira, as always, I'm so appreciative of you. You're the best. So thank you for that. Now,
Thank you.
for those of you that send us messages or DMs, I am so sorry if we have not gotten back to you or if we haven't. We get an overwhelming amount of responses. So if we don't get back to you, please know that we're trying our best to kind of filter through everything. So for those of you that are joining the live, welcome. This is Tiffany Tota. For those of you that are new, for those of you that have been around, you guys know, come with your questions. But before we get started, we love to know where people are coming from. I am coming from Los Angeles, California. Mira talked about being from Egypt. We usually have people from El Maghreb, Bahrain, Qatar, the
Abu
UAE,
Dhabi.
Abu
Yeah,
Dhabi. Oh yeah, and then Egyptians are always in the house, right?
right.
I love it. So anybody that's joining want to share where they're coming in from before we answer any questions around emotional health and wellness. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to create a community to help people get the support that they need around mental health. And Egyptian, Yemeni in the Bay Area, oh my gosh, bleep bloop. Love that so much. The Yemeni community, the Egyptian community is so amazing, and especially from the Bay. I'm originally from the Bay, so welcome. Hi, Ibrahim. Marhaba. I love that. Now, we did get a question that was really important. Why am I doing Middle Eastern content and I don't speak Arabic? I speak very broken 1950s, child of an immigrant in the United States, Arabi. I'm Palestinian, Palestinian American. I guess you could say Falaha, as my family came from the country. However, this platform originally was for Arab Americans because that's my experience as a Middle Eastern therapist. But Mita and I talked about that this kind of evolved into people from all different countries and whatever you can get from it. And my apologies for not speaking Arabic. There's lots of reasons why being here in the United States where our parents felt it was more safe for us to speak English and to assimilate into American culture due to the extensive racism that most Arabs face here in the United States. So let's see who is joining. So the topic today is any questions that you have on emotional health and wellness. We did get a question from one of the people on our platform, and it's around navigating friendships. But if you have any questions, put them in the comments and we will be more than happy to answer them for you. So let's get started. So most of our relationships, our friendships, someone asked this question: how should I navigate being friends with someone who deeply hurt me? I feel so uneasy. Now, when you're in a friendship or in a relationship and you're feeling uneasy or you're feeling unsafe, that is an indicator that something may be off. Now, for you to assess, is it off because of your own internal belief systems, or is it off because this person is engaging in behaviors, and it could be subtle behaviors, putting you down, making fun of you, criticizing you, but they do it jestfully and they do it in a way that you're kind of going, And if you don't have a strong sense of who you are, you may miss that, or in turn, I'm being too sensitive. They didn't mean it. So this is where for you to really look within yourself and assess, why do I feel uneasy? Is it internal or is it external? And that's where the answer lies in that question for you. And it depends on how they hurt you. Now, I know within our culture, many of us, especially Middle Eastern women, we have a very high frustration tolerance. So people can do a whole bunch of stuff to us and we're like, I love, it's okay. We do the same things that our parents did to us, of negating our feelings, ignoring our needs, having people trample all over our boundaries. And so you want to say, how did this person hurt me? How did they? Did they physically hurt you? Any type of physical abuse or any kind of, this is where, run. I do not mince that when it comes to physical abuse. You are feeling uneasy because on a bodily level, why am I not feeling safe? And you ask yourself, where does that come from? Has the friend or the person, the romantic partner, repaired the rupture? Now, what does that mean? When we all hurt each other, that happens. We may say things we don't mean. We may have done something we're not necessarily proud of. Now, if you did that to somebody, it's on you to repair the rupture. So in this case, I think it's Strawberry Croissant who sent this question. Habibti, if this person hurts you, then it's on them to do the repair. But it's your responsibility to talk to them about what they did to you and how they hurt you. Now, depending on that response, did they take accountability? Did they take responsibility? Or did they get defensive and triple down and then make you the problem? Now, if that's the case, I say proceed with caution in that friendship or in that relationship. They may not have the emotional maturity to be able to stay present to what your needs are, or to tolerate, hey, you hurt me. Now, it's uncomfortable to hear that, but an emotionally mature person in a friendship or in a relationship, a healthy person will say, all right, I'm uncomfortable. I hurt you. I'm maybe feeling some guilt or shame around that, but I'm going to stay present to you and say, I'm sorry that I hurt you. And there's no excuse for that. How can I make this better for you? Okay. Now, it's really about discernment on how open your friend is open to feedback. And if they're not open to feedback, and if they're gonna, be harmful to your vulnerability, probably a friendship you want to reevaluate, and a relationship you want to reevaluate. We don't hurt each other in our friendships. We affirm each other. We uplift each other. We give one another that light that's going to keep us going in this life. And if they're zapping you from your light, or if they're trying to compete with you, that's not a healthy friendship. That's not a healthy relationship. So, with that said, take a look, use discernment, talk to them about what you need. And depending on how they respond, they may need some space. They may need to sit with it. And they may come back and say, yeah, I was a really crappy friend. I'm sorry. Then you can build a new friendship from that place. Okay, so there's that. Any questions on that? So that's navigating friendships. Do we have any questions? Nobody has questions? You have a therapist's ear for the next 20 minutes. Nobody has any questions. Welcome to everybody who's joining to Wadeh Wednesday. This is a platform where we talk about emotional health and wellness within the context of our Middle Eastern communities. Mira, are there everyone's quiet today? They just want to.
No questions yet.
No questions yet? We have a lot of shy people. Hi, everybody that's joining. This is going to be a very boring live unless we have some interaction. Mira, do you have any questions on mental health?
Can I read you some questions that people asked before in a live before?
Yes, of course. Look, you're going to put me on the fly. Let's do this.
So, how can you feel less guilty about enjoying your free time when you're usually so hardworking? I think it's my question too, honestly.
That's a really, really good question. At the crux of that is your self-worth. Many times, and we talked last week about the mother wound, right? The mother wound. And when we were growing up, anytime we rested or anytime we decided to take a break, maybe you were told, get up, keep working hard. So now as an adult, if you give yourself a break, you feel guilty, you feel shame that I'm a failure, I'm lazy, whatever that core belief is for you. Now, in order to move through that is to strengthen that self-worth to say, it is okay for me to rest. And it really is a reminder to say, the more I can rest, the more I can give to others. The more, that's something that people don't understand. If you're over functioning, the more you can give to yourself, the more you can rest, the more you can do. But when you're running on empty, I did the live yesterday on burnout. I think, Mita, you'll post that video later. The guilt is at how you see yourself. How do you honor yourself? How do you give yourself permission when you work so hard to go, it's okay for me to rest because it's necessary. It is necessary to do that in order for you to continue. Because if you keep overriding that, oh, I feel guilty, let me keep working, then that leads to burnout. And burnout typically leads to higher mental health issues and physical health issues, autoimmune disorders, cancers. If you keep overriding and your body just goes, I can't do this anymore, okay? And it also leads to illness, flus, things like that. So the only thing I can tell you is be gentle with yourself, and it's almost like you have to constantly tell yourself it's okay to rest.
Right.
And then does the guilt go away? Yes, eventually it does. But you have to really reprogram your brain to be able to tolerate the distress of all those earlier messages when you were a kid. And sometimes it takes a long time to move through that. So be patient with yourself.
Well, thank you for answering that.
Yeah.
Let me take a look.
Yeah, take a look. Hi, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining the live. We really appreciate it. Love having you guys. This community is so awesome. When you guys engage, it's so cool for me because it's no fun just sitting here talking all by myself.
Someone asked how to deal with chronic anxiety. I think we have a lot of videos about that.
We do. And I also have a workshop coming up in April, I believe, that's on managing anxiety. Chronic anxiety, again, it begins with asking yourself, what is at the root of my nervousness? Now, maybe you had anxiety from a little boy or a little girl. Growing up, you may not have been in a safe environment. You may have not had a parent or a familial structure to be able to hold you in your feelings. So you may have had a lot of emotional suppression, which is very common in our culture, right? This emotional suppression. And so the anxiety just keeps building and building. So for you, I'm really going to encourage you. If you have chronic anxiety, go all the way back to when you first started experiencing the anxiety and do an investigative work. Be curious. What happened to me that I've become this anxious? Because it's more often than not, it's external environments that drive the anxiety. Now, sometimes you were just many of us, we were just born anxious because in the womb, our mothers may have been, while we were in the womb, our mothers may have been under chronic stress. This is why I say be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself. That if the mother in utero, the mother was under chronic stress, your little nervous system that was developing in utero, now you come out, and out the gate, your nervous system may have already been developed with some anxiety. And then you have external factors that contribute to that: emotional suppression, trauma, any trauma. So the chronic anxiety has reasons for it. And I think once people get an understanding of where their anxiety comes from, then they can empower themselves to do some lifestyle changes, to be able to get the help that they need and the support that they need. And then slowly, again, therapeutic work is not a quick TikTok. Believe me, it's so annoying as a therapist when people are like, oh, look at you, just read a TikTok and I'm healed. No, the messy work is when you're sitting on the couch and really diving into some of the really difficult things and patterns of behavior that you engage in. So yeah, do some investigative work on where, and be kind to yourself. And sometimes we go through a lot of hard stuff. And many times we want to, like in a little box, and we want to put it in the closet and we leave it there. Eventually it's going to come out. And so, but that's on your time. You cannot force people or yourself to address trauma, which is usually at the crux of anxiety. Unprocessed trauma. Any other questions? Oh, we've got 10 minutes, Mita. Maybe we can go a little bit longer. Any other questions? Welcome, everybody. So, welcome to our Community for International Arab. Okay, go ahead.
Lee said, yesterday I was having an anxiety attack because I was overthinking and angry, and I don't know if that's normal.
Well, you're a human being having a human experience. That's normal. Overthinking, getting angry. I like to move away from what's normal and what's not, because as human beings, yeah, sometimes we have experiences where you're going to get angry, but it's what do you do with that anger? The overthinking is your brain trying to solve something. Now, many times it's, again, going back to, by the time the overthinking and the anger, you were already overriding your feelings for a while. By the time it gets to the point where you're snapping or your frustration tolerance is really low, that usually is an indicator. I always tell my clients, I need you to address any feeling in your body, that nervousness in your stomach, or sometimes we feel the burden on our shoulder. Pay attention sooner than later. Your body, I say this all the time, has a wealth of information if you pay attention to it. Now, what's going to be so key to that is you say, why am I feeling this tension in my shoulder? Why am I feeling? And then if you stop and you slow down enough to assess that the ruminating thoughts may be less. Now, you just may be an overthinker, and part of that is finding acceptance around that and developing the tools on controlling what you can control. Now, sometimes we overthink because we're making things way more complicated than what they are in reality. However, you won't be able to get there until you can address what is going on within you first. And so pay attention to your body. Take that deep breath in. Take a 5-minute time out. Why am I stressing out? What is going on? And it could be somebody else projecting onto you. It could be so many other things. But unless you have an awareness around that, you're going to keep emotionally suppressing. But your anger, your overthinking, totally normal. Human experience. Total human experience. I'm tired of people thinking we have to be so present and so this, yeah, we do. But also, if you snap, we live in a very stressful world. And so feel your feelings, feel them deeply, and try not to act. What is going on with all this stuff? Are people sending lovely things? Oh, thank
Yeah.
you, everybody. Thank you, Nana. Thank you, young Nana. I appreciate it. But there was all this, this is the Gen X. And I'm like, there's too much stimulus. Where was I? Mira, where was I? So so for you having an experience, that's okay. Feel your feelings. I'm a firm believer in screen therapy. Just go into the car or go somewhere and just release it out of your body, because we just keep suppressing. Oh, I have to be so, especially with social media. Oh, I need to be this perfectly regulated, emotional human being. La. Oh, into that. Khalas. But you don't want to act upon it by hurting other people. You see where I'm going with that? Mira, did that make sense?
Of course it does.
Okay. How are we doing? Hi, everybody. Let's see. Saisid said, I like your background. Oh, you mean this? Oh, that's good. Well, thank you.
MK asked,
Hmm?
MK asked, how do you process trauma?
Oh, my goodness. Mira, do we have a whole video on trauma? I think we do. If you
Yeah.
if you go on, there's my mother calling always. She knows I have Wadeh Wednesday. Do you have an Arabi mom? You say, Yama, I have a meeting. I'm busy. And Lissa, but they're on the phone. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Yama. God bless her. Okay. We have a whole video on processing trauma on the YouTube. I did do a live on that. I don't want to take too much time here, but if you do have trauma, I can tell you it is so important if you're ready. Again, you can't force yourself to process trauma. And if you're in already a traumatic, you're in survival. I don't know if processing your trauma in survival mode is going to be helpful. You want your body to be safe as possible in order to do the inner trauma work. And yeah, but look at the video. I hope it will be helpful. All right, welcome everybody. Let's see, anything else, Mira?
May I add, it's City Sunday number 9. If you're trying to look for it on YouTube, it's on the YouTube channel, Tiffany Torah MFT. It's City Sunday number 9.
Oh, thank you so much, Mira. You're the best. You're the best. Okay, let's see. Somebody, SAXO, love that. Any tips for social anxiety? Okay, I'm gonna do quick. If growing up, you have more of an introverted personality, maybe you were more quiet, more thoughtful, more, not that extroverted people aren't thoughtful, but they tend to be like, socially they're like moving around. But you may need to feel more safe. You may be what I call the marinator. So when you go into a social situation, your body may be inflamed because of your own internal self-worth, self-confidence. Maybe social situations when you were growing up were extremely distressful for you, because growing up, maybe you were this exuberant little person and that was shut down or bullied or put down. Okay. So again, going back to, when did my social anxiety begin? Have I always been uncomfortable around human beings? Okay, honor that. A lot of human beings aren't safe, and maybe you're more sensitive to environments. So first acknowledge that and accept that and be okay with that. You are okay. Next, you want to go in. Most of the time, we're thinking way too deeply in social situations. Now we come from, I love our culture, but yeah, our social situations are brutal sometimes. The judgment, the wish-wishing, the aunties looking you up and down. Sometimes you have people looking and you can feel their energy. And if you're sensitive and if you don't have a good sense of self, your social anxiety is going to be completely revved up. So again, you want to honor that and acknowledge that. And when you go into a social situation, it's really about leaning into, most people, if you're socially awkward and you're talking to people and then they walk away, you internalize it as something about you. I'm letting you know people can sense your discomfort and they internalize it as I'm causing this person discomfort. So they walk away more because they don't want to cause you distress. So be able to understand that it's a two-way street. Each person is struggling with whatever internal dialogue they have. So this is about you changing your internal dialogue and collecting evidence for yourself that maybe people don't want to be around you, or maybe people do want to be around you. But you have to have more of reality around why your social interactions, they may not be as intense or as intense as you make it out to be in your head because of your anxiety. Did that make sense, Mita? I felt like I was talking too much.
No, no, no.
Okay.
I love the tips and the advice. We have a few questions. I know where. Would you like me to say them or have them
Yeah,
for
depending
later?
on what they are. We only have a few minutes. If they're like, oh, I'm so glad that was helpful, SAXO. Thank you for asking about that, because social anxiety is very common. You're not alone, but we also have to assess again why. So I'm glad that was helpful. Let's see.
So it's just me said how to prioritize yourself and even be selfish when your whole life was about others and their needs.
Yeah, real quick on that one. I don't like to use the word selfish. I like to use the word self-full. That we were conditioned, if we do anything for ourselves, we're selfish. And it goes back to what I said earlier. The more you can give to yourself, the more you'll be able to do for others. But we have cultural conditioning that says, no, you have to, and we have moms and dads who do everything for everyone in the community, and they have nothing left for themselves, nothing left for their children. I'm not saying that's in all cases. So my point to this is, anytime you say I'm being selfish for doing something for myself that's going to restore me, change that word, please. Change it to I'm being self-full, so that I'll be able to be at my optimum to be able to give to others in a way that I can feel good about. Because if you're burnt out and you're giving to others and you're resentful, you're pissed off, you're angry, you're frustrated, and then somebody says something to you and then you snap and then you feel guilty and then you're in your shame cycle. It's like, oh my gosh, it's an endless loop. Pull yourself out of that. And the more you can fill yourself and your being with things you enjoy and things you love, the more capacity you will build for the challenging environments that many of us have with our families, because you'll have more capacity. That's what we're doing in here, is how do you stretch yourself to be able to navigate all the difficulties that life throws at you. So self-full. So every time you do that, oh, I'm being no, I'm filling myself so I could be better to myself and to others. That's such an important lesson, especially you can get that while you're young. Oh, by the time you're Khalto's age, you will know that you will be so good at it. Don't wait 30 years the way many of us to try and get these skills. Get them while you're young, and then you will have such a nice, fulfilled life. You will be able to navigate some really difficult stuff.
I love that.
Yeah.
So we have Nadine asking, how do you avoid feeling bitter for people making you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself?
Wait, say the first part again. I couldn't hear you.
How do you avoid feeling bitter for people making you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. Thank you, Nadine, for that. Well, you're going to feel bitter. You're going to feel your feelings, but a lot of it is, how are you internalizing that? So people can't make you feel a certain way unless you are matching that. So like, when the parents lay on the guilt, how come we don't see you? And I'm like, oh my God, I talked to you 6 times yesterday. And now, right? Now, when I was younger, I would internalize that I'm a bad daughter. I'm hurting them. I'm terrible, right? And then I would do more. And the more I did, the more they demanded. It's when they start projecting onto you their own stuff, that's where you take a deep breath and go, this is about them. I'm okay with how much I'm giving. I'm okay with what I'm doing. I'm okay with giving to myself, because then ultimately I am better to them. They're not going to understand that. You need to understand that for yourself. So with parents, with our families, and to avoid that guilt, is there's a part of you that has a core belief that you're failing people for giving to yourself. And it's the opposite. So it's not even about them. That bitterness comes from within you, because there's a core belief in there that you believe what they're telling you. You see? So you really have to shift that for yourself. And you will be bitter. I'm not one to say, you're going to feel your feelings. It's annoying. It's irritating. However, in order to, the more you give to yourself, Nadine, the more you shift that within you, like they're laying it on thick. I tend to use a lot of humor. I'm like, oh, there they go again, trying to guilt me into, feeding their endless needs. And I have to say to myself, I'm not going to do that. Because then when I do that, and when I have done that, I've yelled at them. I've done, like terrible, like just you're approaching that relationship and then you feel shame because you go off on them and you're like, I just can't do this with you anymore. And then they're left like, oh, Ishmael, what happened? So can anybody relate to that? And so this is where, Nadine, it's so important for you to really find acceptance that bitterness that you're feeling is a resentment, because you're going against your value. You're going against what you're doing, and there's a core belief there that I would encourage you to move through. All right. Let's see. Beginning to become more avoidant just to avoid their drama, and that causes more issues. That's such a huge topic. I wish I had time to address that, but yeah. All right, Mira, I think it's time to head out. I've got a meeting. That's why our live is a little short today, but please join us this Sunday for Siddhi Sunday. We're going to talk about, last week we talked about the mother wound. This Sunday, we're going to talk about the father wound. So that is such an incredible topic to talk about. If you have any issues with your father, any difficulties, any challenges around that, my hope is that by us discussing it, you'll have some insight and have some healing. And you can also look at, I know a lot of you ask for individual therapy. I don't do that. My practice is totally full, but I do have a lot of workshops, and I do have a really exciting 8 to 10 person support group, and where you're working with me one-on-one for 4 weeks, not one-on-one, you and 8 other people, where you're working with me for us to really dive deep into a lot of the stuff we do in here. And I'm really excited for that. And you can find that on my website and on the link in my bio. All right, Nita, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you to all the people who sent comments. We really appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of our community. We are so grateful to you. We truly believe on this platform, we heal Mabad. We heal together as a community. We are a collective culture who loves dancing and food. Can we also come together in our own emotional health and wellness and support each other in compassion and in love? All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day or have a great night, whatever you're doing. Bye, Mira. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.